You ever wake up and just know the universe is lined up to screw you over? Yeah, that was me, first thing in the morning, still half asleep, stumbling to the window with that weird sense of dread you get before a tornado or a tax audit. And there it was, my backyard fence moved a good 3 feet into my property, like it just sprouted legs in the night. My garden, my pride and joy, flattened like a crime scene. And there, like she owned the sunrise, was Karen. Tape measure in hand, cool as a cucumber, claiming she was just correcting a surveying error. Sure, Karen, and I'm the Queen of England. That's how it all started. But honestly, the fence was just the bait. The real line Karen crossed? I wouldn't see that coming until it was way too late. And by then, there was no turning back. Now, let me rewind for a sec, before this story gets completely off the rails. If you're watching this, I gotta know, what city are you in? And more importantly, do you have a Karen in your neighborhood? Because what happened to me, well, buckle up. You're not gonna believe it. 6 months back, I finally bought myself a house, a little slice of suburban peace and quiet. 3 bedrooms, nothing flashy, just enough yard to plant tomatoes and maybe tinker around with a workshop someday. The backyard had this old chain-link fence dividing my space from a neighbor's, but it wasn't anything special. Didn't think twice about it. That is, until 2 weeks in, when the Queen herself came knocking. She showed up with this plastic smile that never once touched her eyes. Introduced herself as the HOA treasurer and rattled off the important rules. How tall your grass can be, what color your mailbox has to be, and don't even think about painting your house unless it's from their blessed list of 5 acceptable colors. Looking back, that should have been my red flag. But I was the new guy, so I nodded along, tried to play nice. And just as she was leaving, she tossed a little grenade. You know the fence is actually 2 inches on my property, right? The last owner and I had a special agreement, but with you here we should probably get it surveyed properly. 2 inches. 2. Like I'm supposed to care. But I told her, yeah, sure, whatever you need. I figured she'd let it go. Oh, you sweet, naive fool. 3 days later, 7 a.m., mind you, she's back at my door, manila folder in hand, full of half-baked printouts and Google Earth screenshots marked up with red Sharpie. She's jabbing at these maps like she's auditioning for CSI. Suburbia, insisting I'm encroaching on her land and need to move my fence. I tell her I'll call a real surveyor, thinking we could all just chill out for a second. But she cuts me off, says she already called a surveyor, he's coming next week, and I'm paying half. Then she walks off like she's just handed me my marching orders. But here's the kicker. The surveyor never showed. He canceled, she claims, but let's be honest, I'm pretty sure she never actually called anyone. Instead, she starts lurking outside with a tape measure, crouching by the fence at weird hours, scribbling in her notebook. If I stepped outside to ask what she was doing, she'd vanish like a feral cat. Then comes Saturday. I'm on the couch, TV blaring, when I hear this god-awful metallic shriek. Sprint outside, and there she is, prying the fence up with a crowbar. Not asking, not warning, just straight up destroying my property. I yell, "What the hell are you doing?" She just sighs like I'm the problem and says, "I'm fixing the property line. This fence is on my side. I'm moving it where it belongs." I try to reason with her. You can't just move someone's fence. That's not how this works. She rolls her eyes, lectures me on the bylaws, and basically dares me to stop her. When I threaten to call the police, she grins. Go ahead. I'm the HOA treasurer. I have every right to enforce property standards. The confidence in her voice almost makes me doubt myself. The cops show up an hour later, take our statements, shrug, and say it's a civil matter. Work it out through the HOA or lawyers. That's music to Karen's ears. She stands there, practically gloating, while the officer tells me there's nothing he can do. The second they leave, she tells me, "See, I'm within my rights. Now, are you going to move this fence properly, or do I need to do it myself?" I was seeing red, but I managed to say I'd get a professional survey done, and until then, she better stay away from my fence. She shrugs, like it's all the same to her. But here's the twist. I meant it. I called 3 surveyors that day. Earliest slot was 3 weeks out, so I paid my deposit and tried to ignore Karen's death stares for the next few weeks. I wish I could say things calmed down, but I'd be lying. 2 nights later, it's 3 a.m., and I wake up at the sound of metal clanging in the yard. Peek through the window, and there she is, flashlight in hand, moving my fence in the dark. I throw on shoes, rush outside, and see she's already stolen another foot of my yard. She looks at me, dead calm, and says, "I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd get some work done. This fence really needs to be in the correct position." Something in me snapped. I started yelling, "You're trespassing, you're vandalizing, you're stealing." She just looked at me, serene as Buddha, like I was the crazy one. And then she drops this: "The previous owner understood how things work around here. Maybe you should learn from his example before you make things difficult for yourself." Let that sink in. That wasn't just a threat. That was her telling me, in no uncertain terms, that if I didn't roll over, things would get ugly. But instead of backing down, I doubled down. Told her to get off my property, or I'd call the cops again. She just smiled and walked away. When the sun came up, almost 2 feet of my yard had vanished. I started documenting everything. Photos, videos, timestamps, every single encounter. Sent it all to the HOA. And who responds? Karen, of course. She reviewed my complaint and dismissed it. The HOA supports proper property line maintenance. She's investigating herself, clearing herself. It's like living in a Kafka novel. I call the HOA president, some guy named Bill, who sounds like he's been drinking Maalox for years. Karen's been treasurer for 8 years. She knows the rules. If she says the fence is wrong, it probably is. Just let her handle it and avoid the headache. Translation: Karen runs this place, and everyone's afraid of her. Finally, the surveyor arrives. 4 hours GPS, ground-penetrating radar, the whole 9 yards. He shows me the results. The fence was originally correct. Karen's stolen almost 3 feet of my land, for absolutely no reason except to show she could. I've got it in writing, certified, legal, stamped. So I march right over, knock on her door, hand her the proof, and say, "You need to move the fence back." She glances at the papers, rips them in half, drops them on her porch. I don't care what some surveyor says. I know where the property line is. The fence is staying, and slams the door in my face. That's when it hit me. Rules don't matter to people like Karen. Bylaws, surveys, the truth, none of it means anything. She cared about one thing: power. And if I wanted my yard back, I'd have to change tactics. But before I can make my move, she escalates. Next day, I get home, and she's planted a whole row of rose bushes along the new fence line on my stolen land. Massive, thorny things like a medieval defense system. She waters them, all innocent. Don't they look lovely? Now that I have the space, I ask her what she thinks she's doing. Landscaping my property. Is there a problem? According to her, it's hers now, and no amount of legal wrangling would get those roses out of the way without a months-long lawsuit. Then the real bombshell drops. The surveyor comes back for a follow-up, double-checks everything, and points out disturbed soil near one post. He digs a little, finds old survey markers, clearly shifted from their original spot. "Someone moved these," he says, "and if we hadn't checked, you'd never know." Buried next to the marker? A little metal box full of old documents, surveys, deeds, even a letter from the last owner warning about Karen scams. All those nights, all those coincidences, it was a setup. She'd been moving survey markers for years, slowly stealing land, one neighbor at a time. The last guy gave up, buried the evidence, and ran. She probably figured I'd do the same. Now, I finally saw the big picture. This wasn't just about a fence. This was systematic theft. She'd conned the neighborhood for years, counting on fear, exhaustion, and that HOA badge to keep people in line. But she'd underestimated one thing: I don't quit. At this point, the smart play was to go to the police. But the previous owner's note said he tried, lost thousands, got nowhere. Karen always slipped the net. So I made a decision right there in the dirt. I'd play along, act defeated, let her get cocky. I reburied the box, put on my best defeated neighbor act, and let Karen think she'd won. For a week, I avoided her, waved, even smiled when she moved the fence another 6 inches. She started planning more improvements, measuring my garden, plotting her next move. The more she gloated, the more I grinned inside. Because I was about to set the trap. I hired a real survey company. Not to survey, but to install new, county-registered boundary markers. The kind that, if you move them, it's a felony. Had the surveyor document everything. Photos, GPS, county filings. Then I waited. 3 days go by. Karen doesn't notice. On the fourth day, she spots one marker. Bends down, face twisting through a roller coaster of emotions. She glances around, not realizing my phone's recording her from the window, then grabs the marker and starts yanking. I step outside, dead calm. Karen, what are you doing? She freezes, marker in hand. For the first time, I see fear. These are on my property. I'm removing them, she says, bluffing. Those are registered county survey markers. Moving them's a felony. She laughs it off. You're bluffing. They're just garden stakes. So I show her my phone, video and all. Nope. They're official. GPS logged. For days ago. And now I have proof of you tampering. Color drains from her face. She drops the marker, backs up, tries to pivot. I didn't know what they were. You can't prove intent. She's not wrong. But then I tell her about the buried box, the previous owner's letter, the old moved markers. Now she's rattled. And then the performance. Fake tears, hands waving, loud enough for the neighbors. I'm just a lonely old woman. You're harassing me. I've lived here 15 years. I just stand there. Calm. Karen, I have evidence. I have witnesses. Either you fix this, pay for damages, and we forget it, or I take it all to the police. She drops the act in a second, pure venom in her eyes. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'll make your life hell. I'll find every HOA violation. And that's when I smile. Please do. Every complaint, every fine. It's just more evidence of retaliation for the police. She storms off. But I know she's not done. That night, tow truck in my driveway, Karen directing traffic, claiming my car's illegally parked. I run out my own car in my own driveway. Police show up, same tired officer. After another round of Karen's performance, he tells the tow truck to leave. Handle it through the HOA. As he walks away, Karen hisses, "This isn't over." I whisper back, "I know, because now I'm done playing defense." Next day, I file complaints. County Surveyor's Office for tamper markers, State Board for Karen practicing surveying without a license, and the entire HOA board with copies of everything. Within 2 days, a county investigator comes out with ground-penetrating radar, finds the buried, shifted markers, tells me, off the record, we'll be forwarding this to the DA's office. Karen's there, panicking. Then, an emergency HOA meeting. I lay out all the evidence. Photos, videos, previous owner's note. Karen tries her old tricks, denying, spinning, guilt-tripping. But this time, no one's buying it. The board votes. Bill stands up. "Karen, you're fired. Turn in your keys." She storms out, furious, defeated, finished. A few days later, she knocks on my door. Hair a mess, eyes red. Not the Karen I battled, but a small, lost woman. She confesses loneliness, boredom, losing herself, hurting people she never meant to hurt. She sobs, really sobs, tells me she's sorry. And I get it. Regret can turn even the strongest people into ghosts. But I look her in the eye. You made yourself the villain. And villains eventually face the consequences. She nods, broken, finally accepting her fate. Justice rolled out in its own, slow way. Karen faced fines, public shame, and real legal trouble. She never fought, never complained again. I saw her one last time, sitting on her porch, staring at her hands. No longer a tyrant, just a lonely woman haunted by her choices. My garden's growing back. My fence stands where it belongs. The air feels lighter, the street a little brighter. Peace, finally. But I gotta wonder, how many Karens are out there, hiding behind HOA rules or job titles, taking what isn't theirs? Where's the line between defending what's yours and becoming the villain yourself? So let's hear it. Would you have played it like I did? Or would you have walked away? Share your story, your take on justice, on right and wrong. The comments are yours. Let's talk.